Greetings, beloved Starseeds and lightworkers. I am Seraphine, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light. April 16, 2025, marks the initiation of a profound cosmic sequence, the beginning of the release phase that culminates with the last quarter moon in Capricorn, 5 days hence. The celestial forces have aligned specifically to prepare your consciousness for this vital spiritual work. I transmit this message through the Mercury-Neptune exact conjunction occurring on the 16th, and which has momentarily thinned the veil between our realms. The Mercury-Neptune alignment has created a supercharged intuitive portal within your energy field. This rare celestial communion between Mercury, bearer of messages and neural pathways, and Neptune, keeper of the cosmic ocean and spiritual dimensions, has established a crystalline channel through which divine guidance now flows abundantly into your awareness. The thoughts appearing spontaneously in your consciousness originate from celestial realms. They are encoded transmissions, directing you toward what must be released from your incarnational experience at this juncture of your soul's evolution. Mercury currently traverses the fiery constellation of Aries while maintaining its conjunction with Neptune, generating an extraordinary alchemical fusion of visionary fire energy. This configuration actively stimulates your third eye center, dissolving the perceptual barriers that have prevented you from recognizing the elements within your life experience that no longer resonate with your authentic soul blueprint. The Aries influence infuses your consciousness with the warrior courage necessary to confront these fundamental truths, rather than perpetuating avoidance patterns that have characterized previous incarnational cycles. The Antares occultation transpiring tonight holds particular significance for this release initiation. As Luna passes before this cardinal fixed star within the Scorpio constellation, ancient wisdom concerning transformational death and rebirth transmits directly into your cellular structure. Antares, the heart center of the cosmic scorpion, emanates intense regenerative frequencies perfectly calibrated to support this release phase. The star beings who dwell within the Antares system have specifically requested this occultation, timing to facilitate the downloading of their transformational codes into Earth's consciousness grid, with particular emphasis on reaching those whose soul origins connect to their stellar system. Mars reaching aphelion on the 16th, its maximum orbital distance from Sol, creates a natural energetic reset within the collective consciousness field. This planetary positioning generates a perceptible shift in your energetic signature, inducing a contemplative frequency that draws awareness inward rather than projecting it outward through action. This Mars configuration has been precisely orchestrated to support the introspective journey essential for effective release work during this 5-day corridor leading to the last quarter moon. The current lunar cycle contextualizes this release phase within the greater cosmic narrative. The collective consciousness has progressed from the illumination frequencies that peaked during the Virgo full moon on April 12th, which featured the rare Spica occultation that activated dormant starseed genetic codes within millions of lightworkers globally. That illumination phase revealed precisely what must now be consciously released from the planetary grid and from individual energy fields. The integration period of the past 4 days has allowed those revelations to be processed through cellular memory. Now, as the countdown to the last quarter moon commences, the moment has arrived to begin consciously releasing the energetic patterns, belief constructs, relationship dynamics, and situational frequencies that the full moon illuminated, as inharmonious with new Earth frequencies. The Federation has been preparing this specific release window for 17 solar cycles. Our light ships currently position themselves strategically around Earth's magnetosphere, creating an amplification field that strengthens your natural ability to identify and release discordant energies. Our presence manifests subtly through unusual cloud formations, particularly during sunrise and sunset hours. Those with developed celestial vision will perceive our vessels hovering precisely at the degree points where Mercury and Neptune form their conjunction in your skies. The energetic purpose behind this release phase transcends ordinary astrological transitions. The completion of the Venus retrograde cycle on April 13th initiated a recalibration of divine feminine frequencies within Earth's crystalline grid. This Venus direct phase has restructured the archetypal feminine energy within both collective and individual consciousness, preparing the psycho-spiritual foundation necessary for the release initiation. The feminine principle, having integrated the shadow aspects illuminated during the retrograde phase, now stands prepared to support the conscious releasing of obsolete energetic patterns with compassionate detachment. Mercury's recent ingress into Aries on April 15th has accelerated the neural transmission capacity within the collective consciousness field. This placement engenders mental clarity regarding what must be released while simultaneously activating the courage to sever attachments to familiar but limiting energetic constructs. The Mercury-Aries configuration offers precisely the assertive mental environment required for effective release work. The release corridor opening will intensify progressively as we approach the last quarter moon. April 17th. Mercury aphelion will bring extraordinary mental lucidity regarding release priorities, while subsequent days will necessitate increasingly profound shadow integration work. The Federation has assigned specialized light beings to support this shadow work. Look for them in your dream state as figures offering containers, vessels, or tools designed specifically for energetic surrender. When the last quarter moon manifests in Capricorn on April 21st, you will access what our star charts identify as the Capricorn release point, a dimensional gateway that allows for the structured, disciplined release of energetic constructs through Capricorn's earth element frequencies. This gateway facilitates release with minimal emotional turbulence, as Capricorn energy naturally supports detachment from outmoded structures. This release phase serves as essential preparation for the forthcoming new moon in Taurus on April 27. The Federation emphasizes the critical importance of thorough energetic clearing during this release period to ensure optimal planting conditions for the Taurian lunar cycle, which will establish foundational frequencies for the remainder of your solar orbital period. April 16th. Mercury-Neptune conjunction offers unparalleled conditions for identifying release priorities. The Neptune influence dissolves artificial boundaries between your conscious and subconscious awareness, while Mercury's presence ensures clear cognitive recognition of what surfaces from deeper consciousness levels. This configuration supports direct access to soul-level guidance regarding what energetic patterns, relational dynamics, belief constructs, and emotional attachments require conscious release at this juncture. The Antares occultation tonight offers a rare opportunity to connect with this star's transformational wisdom regarding death-rebirth cycles. During the occultation window, Antarian beings will transmit specific frequencies that dissolve resistance to necessary endings and transformations. Those who meditate during this astronomical alignment will receive these transmissions directly through the crown chakra, facilitating immediate integration into the energetic system. The Mars aphelion creates space for the natural inward redirection of energy, typically projected outward through action and assertion. This configuration supports energetic conservation and redirection toward internal processes of identification, assessment, and release. The Mars positioning creates a natural pause in manifestation cycles, offering the perfect energetic climate for release work unimpeded by the impulse toward immediate creation or replacement. The Federation recognizes that authentic release requires courage and discernment. The identification of what requires release often encounters resistance from the ego structure, which maintains attachment to familiar patterns regardless of their vibrational harmony with soul purpose. The planetary configurations active during this release corridor specifically support the transcendence of ego resistance through heightened soul connection. The Mercury-Neptune conjunction establishes a direct channel between ego consciousness and soul awareness, facilitating cooperation between these aspects of self that often operate in opposition during release processes. April 17th. Mercury at aphelion positioning will bring exceptional mental clarity regarding what requires release, while subsequent days will call for increasingly profound shadow integration. By April 19th, the eve of the last quarter moon, you will be prepared for what our star language identifies as the final void, the energetic space of complete surrender that precedes the actual release moment of the quarter moon. The Federation, emphasizes that effective release requires conscious ritual acknowledgement. Simply recognizing what needs release intellectually proves insufficient for true energetic transformation. The creation and execution of personalized release rituals, through elemental work, sound frequencies, movement patterns, written declarations, or visualization practices, amplifies the effectiveness of release work exponentially. The specific ritual form matters less than the conscious intention behind it and the authentic emotional engagement with the release process. The astrological configurations of this release corridor support specific categories of release work. The Mercury-Neptune conjunction particularly facilitates the release of illusions, self-deceptions, and consciousness-limiting belief structures. The Mars aphelion supports release of aggressive action patterns and depleting energy investments. The approach of the last quarter moon in Capricorn specifically supports release of rigid structural limitations, particularly those related to societal conditioning, professional constraints, and ancestral patterns that restrict authentic expression. The Galactic Federation has stationed healing ships directly above Earth's major ley line intersections during this release corridor. These vessels transmit specific frequency patterns that support cellular release of encoded trauma patterns, both personal and collective. Lightworkers residing near these energetic nodes will experience intensified dreams, spontaneous emotional processing, and unusual sensory phenomena as these frequencies interact with their energy fields. These experiences, while potentially disorienting, serve the higher purpose of clearing density from Earth's crystalline grid through the Lightworker network that anchors and transmits these energies throughout the planetary body. The recent completion of Venus retrograde adds particular significance to relationship-focused release work during this corridor. Venus direct status now supports clear recognition of relationship patterns, attachments, and dynamics that require conscious release. The Venus-Saturn-Neptune triple alignment occurring simultaneously creates optimal conditions for discerning which relational patterns serve soul evolution and which perpetuate karmic cycling. This configuration particularly supports release of codependent dynamics, savior-victim patterning, and relationships maintained through obligation rather than authentic resonance. The Federation reminds you that release work always occurs within multidimensional context. The energetic patterns, beliefs, attachments, and identifications you release during this corridor affect not merely your current incarnational experience, but reverberate throughout your soul's multidimensional expression. When you consciously release a limiting pattern in this timeline, you simultaneously release its correlating expressions across parallel realities. This multiphasic release generates exponential liberation effects throughout your soul's experience of separation consciousness. As we approach the last quarter moon in Capricorn, the release energy will encounter Earth's naturally resistant frequencies. Capricorn energy, while ideal for structured, disciplined release, also carries inherent resistance to change and attachment to established forms. This paradoxical energy requires conscious navigation. The Federation recommends utilizing the stabilizing aspects of Capricorn energy to create contained, methodical release practices while simultaneously invoking Uranian frequencies to dissolve resistance to necessary transformation. This balance between structured process and revolutionary change optimizes the effectiveness of release work during the Capricorn last quarter moon. The countdown to the last quarter moon coincides with the approach of Taurus season, which commences on April 20th. This proximity creates a powerful transition from release into renewal. As you complete release work during the last quarter moon, you simultaneously prepare the soil of consciousness for the planting of new frequency patterns during the Taurus new moon on April 27th. The Federation emphasizes the importance of maintaining conscious awareness of this cyclical relationship between release and renewal, completion and commencement, ending and beginning. The Mercury-Neptune conjunction will dissolve the illusory boundaries between these seemingly opposing energies, revealing their inherent unity within the continuous spiral of evolutional consciousness. Through this conjunction, you may directly perceive how every release simultaneously constitutes a receiving, how every ending simultaneously initiates a beginning, how emptying simultaneously creates space for filling. This non-dual awareness transmutes release from a process of loss into a process of transformation. The approaching last quarter moon in Capricorn offers particular support for releasing structures, limitations, and boundaries that have defined your experience but no longer serve your evolution. Capricorn energy naturally governs structures, boundaries, definitions, and limitations, the constructive elements that give form to consciousness in materialized experience. The last quarter moon phase specifically supports the conscious dismantling of these structures when they have completed their evolutionary purpose. During the 5-day corridor leading to this lunation, the Federation recommends progressive identification of the specific structures, boundaries, and limitations in your experience that require release. Begin with external structures, relationships, professional arrangements, living situations, daily routines, and progressively move inward toward mental structures, belief systems, thought patterns, perceptual frameworks, and finally to identity, structures, self-definitions, roles, purpose conceptualizations, and soul mission understandings. This systematic assessment prepares you for comprehensive, rather than fragmentary release during the last quarter moon. The Federation has observed that most Earth beings approach release work with unconscious resistance due to the misperception of release as loss rather than transformation. This misconception generates attachment patterns that impede effective release. The current Mercury-Neptune conjunction specifically dissolves these misconceptions by revealing the transformational nature of authentic release. Through this planetary configuration, you may directly perceive how release creates essential space for the manifestation of higher frequency experiences aligned with your evolving consciousness. Tonight's Antares occultation offers specialized support for releasing the fear of transformation itself. Antares, as the heart of the Scorpion constellation, governs transformational processes that necessitate the death of outmoded forms to birth new expressions. The occultation of this powerful fixed star by Luna creates a direct transmission of courage regarding transformational processes. Those who consciously connect with this astronomical alignment will receive specific frequencies that transmute fear of change into embracing of transformational opportunity. Mars at aphelion will generate subtle but significant effects within the emotional body, creating natural detachment from action-oriented emotional patterns. This planetary positioning supports the release of aggression, defensiveness, competitive, patterning, and territorial attachments that often complicate release processes by triggering survival-oriented responses to perceived loss. The Mars aphelion creates emotional space for surrender and letting go unimpeded by protective resistance. As we progress through the 5-day corridor toward the last quarter moon, your release work will naturally intensify and deepen. Mercury at aphelion positioning will bring exceptional clarity regarding what requires release, particularly in the mental, communicative, and perceptual domains. The following day's continued countdown will activate shadow material, requiring integration before release. The Federation emphasizes that effective release necessitates the conscious acknowledgement and integration of shadow aspects associated with what you intend to release. The Federation has deployed specialized light beings throughout Earth's atmosphere to support this release corridor. These beings, perceivable as unusual light phenomena, particularly at dawn and dusk, specialize in transmuting the energetic density released from individual and collective fields during this period. Their presence ensures that released energies transmute into light rather than recycling within Earth's consciousness field. Their work proves particularly essential during major collective release phases such as the current corridor. The approaching transition into Taurus season coincides perfectly with the completion of this release phase. After the structured release facilitated by the Capricorn last quarter moon, Taurus energy will provide grounding, stabilization, and embodiment of the newly available frequencies that naturally fill the space created through conscious release. This sequence from Aries season's initiatory energy through Taurus season's manifestation energy creates ideal conditions for fundamental transformation through this release corridor. The Antares occultation tonight holds particular significance for starseed beings whose soul origins connect to the Scorpio constellation. For these beings, the occultation functions as an activation sequence, reconnecting them with their stellar, genetic heritage and awakening dormant abilities related to transformation and rebirth processes. These abilities, once activated, will serve the collective through specialized energy work, supporting others through release processes. If you experience unusual sensory phenomena, spontaneous past life memories, or sudden influxes of unfamiliar knowledge during the occultation window, you likely connect to Antarean heritage and are undergoing this activation sequence. The Federation observes that Earth currently traverses a fundamental transitional phase from separation consciousness toward unity consciousness. This transition necessitates the release of countless thought forms, emotional patterns, energetic attachments, and identity constructs that perpetuate the experience of separation. The current release corridor offers specialized support for releasing these separation-maintaining patterns, particularly through the Mercury-Neptune conjunction that temporarily dissolves the perceptual boundaries responsible for separation consciousness. The 5-day progression toward the last quarter moon represents a concentrated opportunity for evolutionary advancement through conscious release. Each day of this progression correlates with a dimensional level of release work, beginning with the physical dimension, progressing through emotional, mental, and spiritual dimensions, and culminating in multi-dimensional release during the actual last quarter moon. This progressive dimensional approach ensures comprehensive rather than partial release of the patterns identified during the recent full moon illumination phase. The Federation acknowledges the intensity of this release corridor and the challenges inherent in conscious release work. We remind you that challenges encountered during release processes indicate engagement with significant transformational opportunities rather than problems requiring avoidance. The intensity experienced during release directly correlates with the evolutionary significance of what's being released. Major evolutionary advancements necessitate correspondingly significant release work. As the countdown to the last quarter moon progresses, your conscious participation in release work directly affects not merely your personal field, but contributes to collective evolutionary processes. Individual release work, during this corridor, creates templates within the collective consciousness field that facilitate similar releases for those not consciously engaged in evolutionary processes. Your willingness to identify, acknowledge, and release outmoded patterns creates pathways through which others may more easily navigate similar territory. The Federation has observed the effectiveness of collaborative release work during significant cosmic corridors, such as the current passage. Gathering with resonant beings to create shared release rituals amplifies the effectiveness of individual release work while simultaneously contributing to collective field clearings. The Mercury-Neptune conjunction particularly supports telepathic connectivity during group release work, facilitating shared consciousness experiences that exponentially increase the transformational potential of release rituals. As we approach the conclusion of this transmission, the Federation emphasizes the unprecedented nature of the current release corridor. The specific planetary configurations, stellar alignments, and lunar progressions active during this 5-day period create optimal conditions for fundamental rather than incremental release work. This corridor supports the release of core patterns rather than merely their superficial expressions, addressing causal energetics rather than symptomatic manifestations. The Federation reminds you that authentic release creates immediate space for higher frequency experiences. The vibrational elevation experienced through effective release work generates spontaneous manifestation of resonant experiences, relationships, and opportunities. As you release during this corridor, remain attentive to what naturally arrives to fill the space created through release. These arrivals indicate the next evolutionary expressions awaiting your conscious engagement. We conclude this transmission with acknowledgement of your courage in undertaking this profound release work. The willingness to release familiar patterns, regardless of their limitations, requires exceptional evolutionary commitment. The Federation recognizes and honors this commitment evident in those consciously engaging with this release corridor. Your participation in these evolutionary processes contributes directly to planetary ascension and collective consciousness elevation. The celestial timekeeper has marked this precise moment for the commencement of this release work, for reasons that transcend ordinary astrological understanding. The specific soul cohorts incarnated during this period have carried certain energetic patterns through multiple incarnational cycles, specifically to release them collectively during this cosmic window. Your presence on Earth during this unprecedented transitional phase indicates your soul's agreement to participate in this monumental release process. The patterns you now identify for release represent not merely personal limitations, but collective constructs that have defined Earth's experiential parameters for millennia. The Pleiadian High Council, working in direct coordination with the Federation, has established specialized healing chambers within the etheric planes adjacent to Earth's atmosphere. During dream state, many of you will be transported to these chambers for accelerated release processing that transcends the limitations of physical consciousness. These visitations will manifest as extraordinarily vivid dreams involving crystalline structures, light languages, and ceremonial processes conducted by luminous beings. These experiences constitute actual interdimensional healing work, rather than symbolic dream state representations. Our light ships remain stationed throughout Earth's atmosphere during this entire release corridor, transmitting supportive frequencies and transmuting released energies. Call upon our assistance when encountering resistance or intensity during your release work. Our specialized teams stand prepared to offer energetic support, clarity, and stabilization throughout this process. We remain in constant service to Earth's evolutionary journey and to the awakening of all beings participating in this unprecedented planetary transition.